Welcome back, welcome back. I smile today because I'm free. I tell you, smile today because I'm free. And smiling doesn't necessarily mean that things are always going to be perfect. It means that you know that at the end of the day you're free, even amidst the turmoil, even amidst the drama. You know that God has set you free, and He's going to keep moving mountains out of your way daily, because mountains are going to come daily. I don't think it's not going to happen, but He moves them daily. One of the things that I had to set myself free from was my addiction to alcohol. So this particular documentary, I must say it was Holy Spirit led, because I was going through, as we say, a dread withdrawal when I had stopped drinking, and trying to find some inner peace before I got saved. I was looking on YouTube. I was just looking for stuff just not to go crazy. And I came across this documentary, and I loved it. From the time I saw it and how the guy put across the information, I really loved it. And it comprises our Let's Chat segment today. So guys, let's go to our next segment, and I'm going to introduce the video at this time. All right, without further ado, in this segment, you're going to hear from a preacher who is going to give a realistic position on alcohol and its dangers. Please pay attention. For those who, number one, are struggling with alcohol addiction, please, I really beg you this time, and I'm saying because I know sometimes it's a struggle. I was once very ignorant towards, I didn't want to hear anything from anybody, but I'm telling you, please just take a listen, and then you analyze for yourself. And for those who have relatives and you may be wondering, how to understand this thing, take a listen as well. And this is going to be the first of many topics I'll be discussing on this. Trust me, at ACTN and on Cloud9. So let's go now to this documentary entitled "Spirit in a Bottle."
Have you ever seen someone just totally change into someone totally different right before your very eyes in a matter of just a few hours or minutes? During the transformation, some use profanity, talk loudly in a disrespectful way, with absolutely no regard for what they're saying or how they're saying it. Some get confrontational, even to the point of wanting to fight others. Some do just the opposite and become very jovial, friendly, or very quiet and laid back. What happened to them in that short period of time? I think most of you probably know by now that I am describing someone who has been indulging in something that has put them under the influence. The question is, however, under the influence of what? Many would say drugs or alcohol, but I believe these are merely substances that open the door for the real influencer, which is Satan, the devil. Clearly, these people, based on their behavior, are not themselves. But if they are not themselves, then who are they, or what are they? Have you known or seen anybody get so out of it that they don't even remember some or any of the things they did while under, let's just say, Satan's influence or possession? This state of mind is pretty disconcerting when you think of it this way. I mean, really, doesn't it seem like a possession has taken place? Before we can answer that, we must first look at what it means to be possessed by something. Here's the definition I think best describes what happens to someone who is possessed.
Okay, let's take a look at the word possessed. Definition, first definition, spurred or moved by a strong feeling, madness, or a supernatural power. All right, now let's take a look at the word possess as a verb. And the definition that I would like to take a look at in particular is number 3, where it is defined as of a spirit, especially an evil one, to occupy, dominate, or control a person from within.
At this point, I would like to narrow this discussion down to the effects and dangers of alcohol specifically. I chose to focus on alcohol because it is legal and probably the most widely abused, which I think makes it the most underrated, underestimated, addictive, and destructive substance out there. I also chose to talk about alcohol because I am seeing firsthand how Satan is using this poison to destroy some people very near and dear to my heart. In fact, as I work on this project, I am hoping and praying that when I finish this DVD, it will help those that I know and love who are currently being hurt, and in my opinion, their life is in danger because of this poison. I hope and pray that I can get this project finished in time for them to see it. This situation is just that serious. As a result of the tough economic times we are living in, it seems to me that alcohol abuse is on the rise as more and more people are literally drinking themselves to death. Satan has possessed and convinced some to give up on life and hence God, and to use alcohol as their chosen suicide. I think that it is important to state right here for anyone who might be in this state of mind that Satan wants you dead, because he wants your soul, or more accurately stated, he doesn't want you to find and love God and for God to win your soul, because Satan wants to hurt God, and every time he causes a soul to be lost, Satan hurts God. Not many can see the spiritual battle that coincides with substance abuse and challenge. My focus here is how alcohol, a mind-altering substance, allows one to be possessed by spirits. Isn't it interesting how some types of alcohol are actually referred to as spirits?
What got into these two grown men to make them carry on in this manner? Are they gone? Have you heard someone who was drunk use that phrase before? Gone? I wonder where they went. Let's look at why some alcohol drinks are referred to as spirits. Here are some findings from my research regarding why some alcohol drinks are referred to as spirits. Alcohol comes from the Arabic alcohol, which was the name of a body-eating spirit. In fact, the English goal comes from the same word. When Arab alchemists ingested alcohol, their senses deadened and they named the substance according to its body-taking qualities. Knowing this, European speakers who understood its etymology coined the use of the term spirits for alcohol. And I also found this. Distilled alcohol was first noted in Europe among alchemists during the mid-12th century. These alchemists were more involved in medical elixirs than in creating gold from lead. The term spirit is Middle English with its roots in Anglo-French or Latin. It stems from the Anglo-French term spirit, and from the Latin word spiritus, which literally means breath, from the term spirare, meaning to blow, breathe. The term spirits is typically given to those distilled beverages which are low in sugars and which contain a minimum of 35% alcohol by volume. Some of the common types of spirits include gin, vodka, and rum. If they are gone, who is then putting on this ridiculous display? Okay, let's do a quick review and take another look at this paragraph right here. Okay, it reads, when Arab alchemists ingested alcohol, their senses deadened, and they named the substance according to its body-taking qualities. Another way to say that is because of its body-possessing qualities. But is it the alcohol that takes over the body or something else? As I stated before, I believe that the substance is just a mechanism that opens the doorway for an actual spirit to take over the body. Let's review one more paragraph. The term spirit is Middle English with its roots in Anglo-French or Latin. It stems from the Anglo-French term spirit, and from the Latin word spiritus, which literally means breathe, from the term spirare, meaning to blow, breathe. When we breathe into something or blow into something, we give it life, right? Doesn't this sound similar to what God did in Genesis with Adam? Let's take a look. Genesis 2:7. Then the Lord God formed the man of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living thing. So according to these definitions, the alchemists or chemists of old from hundreds of years ago described alcohol as to deaden senses, have body-taking qualities, and breathe or gave breath or life to something.
Now, let us first understand a little bit about what alcohol does to the brain scientifically.
It may be legal, but it is still a drug. Be safe, be sensible, know your limit. Alcohol is a drug too. Think before you drink. Your body belongs to you. The purpose of this presentation is to help you understand the impact that alcohol has on your brain and the damage it can do. Our goal is to provide you with information which will enable you to make informed choices in relation to safe alcohol consumption. Did you know? Healthy people metabolize alcohol at a fairly consistent rate. As a rule of thumb, a person will eliminate 1 standard drink or 10 mils of alcohol per hour. And remember, it's not how many drinks you have, but how much alcohol you consume. Several factors influence this rate, including gender, age, height, weight, general health, the presence of food in the stomach, the concentration of alcohol in the drink, and prescription or illicit drugs taken by the person. It's the blood alcohol concentration, or BAC, which is the key to why we are affected by alcohol. Basically, your blood alcohol concentration is the relationship between the total amount of alcohol in your system divided by total body water, because alcohol is dissolved and diluted in water. So that's also why drinking lots of water with any alcohol consumption is a really good thing. The BAC and the effects of alcohol go up when the body is taking in alcohol faster than it can metabolize it. For example, if you binge drink and consume a 750ml bottle of rum or 3 bottles of wine, that's around 26 standard drinks, between 6 p.m. and 2 a.m, your body will need until sometime around 6 p.m. the next day to process and get rid of the alcohol. And that's why driving or operating equipment the next day is not only illegal, but just crazy, particularly when you consider what this is doing to your brain. Let me explain. Alcohol enters the body and ends up in the stomach, at which point about 20% is absorbed immediately, and the other 80% is absorbed in the small intestine. The heart then pumps the absorbed alcohol to every part of the body, including the central nervous system, which consists of the brain and spinal cord, and it gets to the brain really fast. So that's why even after just one drink, you can feel lightheaded or relaxed. Alcohol acts primarily on the nerve cells within the brain and interferes with communication between nerve cells and all other cells, slowing everything down. And that's why when we drink even a little, we experience the effects of alcohol on our emotions, judgment, balance, memory, speech, and anger levels, just to name a few. Did you know that your brain is still developing until you're around 20 to 25? So we need to be really careful because alcohol can do some irreversible damage to various parts of our brains. For example, drinking affects the cerebral cortex, which controls our senses, and inhibitory centers, which is why when you drink, you become more talkative, more self-confident, and less socially inhibited. It also controls our thought processes, so alcohol affects our ability to make good judgment or think clearly. The brain's frontal lobes are important for planning, forming ideas, making decisions, and using self-control. So when alcohol affects the frontal lobes of the brain, you may find it hard to control emotions and urges, and you may act without thinking, and even sometimes become violent or act completely out of character. Does this sound familiar? The cerebellum is important for coordination, thinking, and being aware. So again, you may have trouble with these skills when alcohol affects the cerebellum. That's why people affected by alcohol sometimes can't walk properly or lose their balance and fall. The hippocampus is the part of the brain where memories are made. So when alcohol reaches the hippocampus, you may have trouble remembering something you just heard, or even worse, have a blackout and not be able to remember what you did last night. If alcohol damages the hippocampus, you may find it hard to learn or remember things in the future. The hypothalamus is a small part of the brain that does an amazing number of the body's housekeeping chores. After a person drinks alcohol, blood pressure, hunger, thirst, and the urge to urinate increases, while body temperature and heart rate decreases. And finally, the medulla controls the body's automatic actions, such as your heartbeat. It also keeps the body at the right temperature. Because alcohol chills the body, drinking a lot of alcohol outdoors in cold weather can cause a person's body temperature to fall below normal. This dangerous condition is called hypothermia. Your body belongs to you. Get the facts. Alcohol is unsafe for the developing brain. Alcohol can damage your brain forever. The long-term functioning and health of your brain depends on the choices you make today. Your responsible attitude toward alcohol can have a positive influence on your friends and family. Your body belongs to you. Take care of it. It's the only one you have.
As soon as you start consuming alcohol or any other mind-altering substance, you immediately begin to slowly lose and surrender control of your body because the substance immediately begins to affect your brain and your central nervous system. Why do people who drink even allow themselves to drink to the point that they are no longer in control of what they do and say? Well, the video explains that alcohol affects the frontal lobe, which is the part of the brain that handles our judgment, which is impaired and not functioning properly as a result of the effects of alcohol, which explains why some people who egregiously abuse alcohol continue to consume the substance even though they are already sloppy drunk, and why they do illogical things like trying to drive when they can barely walk to their car. These are all due to biological and psychological changes that were clearly explained and described in the video. Nevertheless, What the video did not explain is why people impacted by alcohol consumption almost always do things and behave in a way that is destructive, hurtful, offensive, and sometimes downright evil to either themselves or to others. Why is it that alcohol always brings out the bad in people and not the good? I believe it's because alcohol's biological effects on the human body deadens man's soul or consciousness and allow it to be possessed by an evil spirit while under the influence, causing man to do things that are more risque and dangerous to himself and his fellow man. I truly believe that Satan is successfully using this substance in a big way to win souls and destroy lives, and statistics seem to indicate and prove this to be true.
The Center of Disease Control reports that over 50% of adults 18 years of age and over drink regularly, and over 13% are moderate drinkers. Today, alcohol is involved in 37% of all traffic deaths among persons aged 16 to 20. Indeed, the evidence now suggests a need to target prevention efforts to young people. Analysis by NIH scientists indicate that over 70% of people in crashes caused by alcohol met alcohol dependence criteria, but most have never been arrested or received treatment. This suggests that there are quite a lot of people out there who are dependent on alcohol but don't know it. NIH studies reveal that young people who begin drinking before age 15 are 4 times more likely to develop alcohol dependence during their lifetime than those who begin drinking at age 21 or later.
Clearly, alcohol is a pretty pervasive problem and a serious one as well, especially if using alcohol really does allow evil spirits to possess people. These videos of these people behind me falling down all over the place are kind of comical. However, if you consider the fact that these people have consumed so much of a mind-altering substance that they are not in control of their own bodies, mind, and thoughts, and are a danger to themselves and others, then their behavior is not that funny. In fact, there's a story in the Bible that really provides a good example about how serious we should take drunkenness. The story is about Noah in Genesis chapter 9, verses 20 through 25, reading from the King James Version. And Noah began to be an husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. And their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. Now, this story is a very controversial story, one that typically elicits much discussion and debate, but I use it here only to make the point that a curse was apparently placed on Ham's son for the way Ham failed to look after his father Noah and seemingly made fun of him during his drunkenness. I also point out this story to prove what Ecclesiastes 1:9 states, that there is nothing new under the sun. The problems of today, though they may be taking place in larger numbers and with more severity, they are nonetheless the problems of old. I hope that this video will cause you to at least consider the possibility that alcohol could be a tool used by Satan to take control of people for evil intentions, and that you consider sharing this information with someone who you think may benefit from it. This video is being placed and made available on DVD and can be purchased by going to www.kingdomknowledge.info. Thank you for watching. God bless. Peace and love.
A lot. And I know it was intense. I'm going to get into some more discussions about it probably tomorrow, God's willing. We have just a few minutes again before the end of the show. I just want to say this quickly before we go to our phone interview with a very good friend of mine concerning domestic violence in relation to their whole Roman story. Ask yourself several questions. The first one being, why would you want to take something that controls you? Why would you want to take something that dead or kills your senses? Just ask yourself that question. I mean, we could go on and on, but ask yourself those two questions. Number three, is that my worth? Is that your worth? I was there, and I know my worth now.